Chicago woke up heavy that morning, like the city itself could feel something was about to explode. One message, just one line, sent the entire internet into meltdown mode. Fans were refreshing timelines like their lives depended on it, reactions pouring in faster than sirens downtown. And when a mother's pain turns into a public storm, nobody is safe from the fallout. The headlines screamed betrayal, the comments sparked war, and suddenly, every block had a different version of the truth. "You think I don't know?" the post read, and just like that, everything changed. Fans are shocked. Emotions ran high. The city was left divided. Some people say it was just a mother speaking from heartbreak. Others swear there was a deeper message hidden between the words. And Chicago? Chicago didn't just watch, Chicago reacted. Streets started buzzing. Group chats lit up. Influencers whispered about what they heard. And by sunrise, one thing was clear. This wasn't just grief. This was a storm about to break. Tonight, you're not just watching a story. You're stepping into a city on edge, where words mean war, and silence means more than you think. The tension in Chicago was palpable as rumors about Lil Tim's latest move started circulating on social media. Word on the street was that he had allegedly made comments that crossed a line no one in the King Von circle would ever tolerate. Fans were already buzzing, and emotions ran high as the first signs of conflict started bubbling over. King Von's mom, known for her fierce loyalty and no-nonsense attitude, had reportedly been keeping a close eye on Lil Tim for weeks. Sources close to the family claimed that she was not one to let disrespect slide, and when she finally confronted him, the city witnessed an eruption that would be talked about for months. Eyewitnesses said the confrontation happened at a small local Chicago studio where Lil Tim had scheduled a session. King Von's mom arrived unexpectedly, her face set in a look of determination that left everyone in the room tense. "You know what you did," she reportedly snapped, her voice sharp enough to make the walls of the studio tremble. Lil Tim, caught off guard, attempted to defuse the situation, but it was clear that the storm had already begun. Friends in the studio described the moment as surreal, a clash of generations, legacies, and raw emotion, and the energy in the room was nothing short of explosive. What made this incident even more shocking was the presence of fans who had gathered outside, sensing the brewing drama. Phones were out, live streams were started, and within minutes, the confrontation became a viral spectacle. People were commenting, speculating, and sharing snippets, making the event an instant social media frenzy. Even those who weren't fans of King Von or Lil Tim were captivated by the unfolding drama. "I couldn't believe my eyes," said one witness. "It was like watching a storm hit in slow motion. You could feel the tension in the air. Everyone was holding their breath." Inside the studio, accusations flew like bullets. King Von's mom allegedly accused Lil Tim of stepping over boundaries, not just in the music industry, but in matters involving personal respect for the family legacy. Lil Tim tried to respond, his voice calm at first, but as the confrontation escalated, so did his frustration. "I'm just doing my thing, trying to make a name," he reportedly said, but the words barely had an effect. The family matriarch's stare was unrelenting, and her voice cut through the room like a knife. "This isn't about making a name, young man. This is about respect. And you've crossed a line that can't be ignored." Friends of Lil Tim described the tension as almost unbearable. Some tried to step in, trying to mediate, but King Von's mom was adamant. She was not backing down, and she wasn't going to sugarcoat anything. The room reportedly split into factions. Those who supported her, standing firmly behind the family name, and those who were rooting for Lil Tim, convinced that he was being unfairly targeted. The emotional conflict wasn't just between two individuals. It was a battle for perception, influence, and loyalty. Meanwhile, the fans online were dissecting every single moment. Clips of the confrontation were shared across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and each clip seemed to add more fuel to the fire. Comments ranged from "Lil Tim went too far," "He knows it," to "Von's mom is overreacting, chill out." The debate raged on, with every side presenting arguments, theories, and even conspiracy-level speculation. Some even suggested that this was a calculated move, a way to create buzz and keep both names in the spotlight. But whether staged or spontaneous, the emotions in the studio were undeniably real. As the confrontation reached its peak, things reportedly got even more intense. King Von's mom allegedly brought up incidents from the past, private moments and family stories that no one outside the inner circle was supposed to know. Lil Tim's reaction shifted from defensive to shocked. "Where did you even hear that?" he asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. But she didn't waver. "Don't play dumb. You know exactly what I'm talking about," she reportedly said, her tone dripping with authority and fury. The tension wasn't just verbal. Sources claim that objects in the studio were moved hastily, as friends and associates tried to prevent the situation from turning physical. Chairs were pushed back, hands were raised not in violence but in defense, and everyone seemed acutely aware that one wrong move could escalate into something much worse. Emotions ran high, and the atmosphere was thick with anticipation and fear, like the calm before a storm. Adding another layer to the chaos, members of King Von's extended circle reportedly began calling in from other parts of the city, demanding updates and offering advice. The family was left divided, with some urging calm and others encouraging a firm stance. The pressure on Lil Tim increased as the confrontation continued, with multiple sides watching, waiting, and speculating on what would happen next. Unexpectedly, a twist emerged when an anonymous insider leaked a snippet of a private message exchange between Lil Tim and another local artist. The messages suggested that Lil Tim had been aware of certain boundaries, but had chosen to push them for reasons only he knew. This revelation sent fans into a frenzy. The debate now included questions of intention, morality, and respect, and people were dissecting every word of the leaked messages. Social media exploded with theories, memes, and even parody videos, amplifying the drama to unprecedented levels. While the city buzzed with speculation, inside the studio, the confrontation was far from over. Witnesses say that King Von's mom, despite being visibly emotional, maintained a controlled fury that left everyone in awe. "She wasn't just angry," said one insider. "She was strategic, precise. Every word was calculated to make him understand the consequences of his actions." Lil Tim, meanwhile, reportedly struggled to respond, caught between defending himself and acknowledging the weight of the accusations. As part of the dramatic escalation, friends and associates began sharing stories from past encounters, highlighting moments where boundaries had allegedly been crossed. Each anecdote added layers to the narrative, creating a web of accusations, defenses, and counterclaims. The tension was no longer just between two individuals. It had evolved into a full-blown saga with multiple perspectives, stakes, and players. The confrontation eventually spilled outside the studio, as fans and local onlookers began gathering, drawn by the energy and drama. Phones recorded snippets of the heated exchange, and soon, the video clips were trending on multiple platforms. Hashtags like #Von vs Lil Tim, #ChicagoDrama, and #King Von Family flooded social media, making the event unmissable for anyone following the rap scene. The emotional stakes were higher than ever, and the city was left wondering how, or if, the situation would be resolved. This saga concludes. Tensions are at an all-time high. King Von's mom has made her stance crystal clear. Respect is non-negotiable, and lines have been crossed that cannot simply be overlooked. Lil Tim, caught in the eye of a storm far bigger than himself, is forced to navigate accusations, family legacy, and the watching eyes of a city. Fans are shocked, the family is divided, and the drama is far from over. But one thing is certain, Chicago has never seen a confrontation quite like this, and what happens next could change everything for everyone involved. As the night deepened over Chicago, the tension that started inside the studio had now spilled into the streets. The city was alive with rumors, whispers, and theories about what exactly Lil Tim had done to provoke King Von's mom. Social media was buzzing like never before. Fans were sharing every clip, screenshot, and quote they could get their hands on, dissecting the confrontation with an intensity that left everyone wondering, was this just the beginning, or had the real storm only just arrived? Inside the studio, the atmosphere was tense and electric. Lil Tim, still trying to defend himself, reportedly took a step back, realizing that the confrontation was more than he had bargained for. "I never meant to disrespect anyone," he allegedly pleaded, his voice cracking under the weight of scrutiny. But King Von's mom was unyielding. "Intentions don't matter when actions speak louder than words," she snapped, her eyes burning with an intensity that left everyone in the room frozen. Friends tried to calm the situation, but each word seemed only to fan the flames of confrontation. Then came the unexpected twist. A previously unknown family member, someone who had been quiet for years, reportedly stepped forward to defend King Von's mom. "You don't understand what this family has been through," they said, their voice low but fierce. This revelation stunned everyone. Lil Tim's allies were caught off guard, unsure of how to respond, and suddenly, the stakes had risen higher than ever. The confrontation was no longer a simple dispute. It had evolved into a battle of loyalties and legacies, with multiple factions now involved. Meanwhile, fans outside the studio had begun chanting Lil Tim's name, some in support, some in mockery. The sheer volume of people added to the chaos, making it nearly impossible for anyone inside to maintain composure. Phones were recording every moment, every gesture, every word, and within minutes, the snippets were everywhere. People online started creating memes, videos, and threads dissecting every angle. "This is insane," one fan wrote. "I can't believe Von's mom actually confronted him like this." Emotions ran high. Inside, the confrontation reached a new level of intensity when Lil Tim's past actions were brought into the spotlight. According to sources, King Von's mom allegedly reminded him of incidents that had been kept private for years, moments that she claimed showed a pattern of disrespect. Lil Tim reportedly tried to explain, but the weight of the accusations and the presence of multiple family members made it difficult for him to get a word in. The tension was almost tangible, like a wire stretched to its limit, ready to snap at any second. Then, in a shocking turn of events, an old friend of Lil Tim stepped into the room with what he claimed was proof that Lil Tim had, in fact, tried to show respect but had been misunderstood. This revelation created a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. King Von's mom was reportedly unmoved at first, her stare piercing and unrelenting. "You can show all the proof you want," she said, her voice cold and commanding. "Actions speak louder than words, and the family has spoken. Respect isn't earned by excuses." But the twists didn't stop there. Another ally of Lil Tim reportedly revealed a series of texts from people in the industry suggesting that some members of King Von's circle had been spreading misinformation to escalate tensions. This revelation sent shockwaves through the room. Suddenly, the narrative became more complicated, layered with betrayals, hidden motives, and conflicting truths. Fans online were going wild, dissecting every snippet, theorizing about who was telling the truth and who was playing a game behind the scenes. The confrontation reportedly escalated further when a heated argument broke out between two longtime associates, one supporting King Von's mom, the other defending Lil Tim. Voices were raised, emotions ran high, and it seemed as though the studio might erupt into chaos. "You think you know the story, but you don't," one shouted. "We're just trying to protect what matters," the other fired back. Objects were moved hastily, hands were raised not in violence but in desperate attempts to intervene, and the tension became almost unbearable. At this point, some insiders claimed that the confrontation reached its emotional peak. King Von's mom allegedly delivered a heartfelt speech, detailing the pain, loss, and struggles the family had endured over the years. Her words reportedly cut deep, leaving even some of Lil Tim's staunchest supporters momentarily speechless. "This isn't just about music, fame, or clout," she said. "This is about family, legacy, and respect. Don't mistake our silence for weakness. Don't mistake our patience for tolerance. You crossed a line." Lil Tim's reaction was said to be a mix of remorse and frustration. While he maintained his innocence in certain areas, it was clear that the confrontation had shaken him. His allies tried to console him, whispering advice and strategies, but even they admitted that the emotional weight of the situation was intense. "He's never seen anything like this before," one friend reportedly said. "The way she spoke, the way she carried herself, it's something you don't forget." Outside the studio, the situation continued to evolve. Fans, reporters, and passers-by speculated wildly about what had happened inside. Social media posts exploded with comments, shares, and videos. Hashtags trended, and debates raged on forums and chat rooms. The drama had now transcended the studio walls, becoming a citywide spectacle. Everyone had an opinion, and no one could ignore the story that was unfolding in real time. The night took an even more dramatic turn when a shocking piece of information emerged. According to insiders, Lil Tim had been warned multiple times before the confrontation, but had allegedly ignored or dismissed those warnings. King Von's mom reportedly said, "We tried to give you a chance, but actions have consequences. You were warned, and now we deal with the aftermath." The revelation added another layer to the drama, making fans question how much of this was inevitable, and how much could have been avoided. Adding to the tension, the confrontation reportedly sparked side conflicts among friends and associates, each trying to choose a side. Old alliances were tested, loyalties questioned, and the room reportedly became a pressure cooker of emotions, secrets, and grievances. Some insiders claimed that tears were shed, voices cracked, and tempers flared, creating a scene that seemed both chaotic and theatrical, exactly the kind of moment that keeps fans glued to their screens. As the night wore on, King Von's mom and Lil Tim reportedly engaged in a private discussion, away from the cameras and the crowd. Witnesses said that this moment was intense, emotional, and revealing. While the details remain partially unknown, sources claim that both parties came to a tentative understanding, a truce of sorts, but one that left lingering questions and unresolved tensions. They didn't exactly hug it out, one insider said, but there was acknowledgement, and that was something in itself. Despite the partial resolution, the drama was far from over. Fans online debated every nuance, every word, every gesture. The family was reportedly still divided, friends were taking sides, and Lil Tim had to navigate a delicate balance between defending himself and maintaining respect for the legacy of King Von. The emotional stakes were higher than ever, and Chicago had never seen a saga with this much intensity, drama, and unpredictability. The air in Chicago felt heavier the next morning, like the city itself was holding its breath. Word of the confrontation between King Von's mom and Lil Tim had spread far beyond the local rap scene. Bloggers, news pages, reaction channels, and even mainstream outlets were buzzing with speculation. People were waking up to notifications, messages, and viral clips, all pointing toward the same question: what really happened between Von's mom and Lil Tim after that private conversation? Behind the scenes, things were unraveling fast. That tense truce, the one people hoped would calm things down, turned out to be barely holding together. According to insiders, the private discussion had ended with both sides acknowledging their pain but refusing to back down completely. It wasn't closure, it was just a pause. And that pause, as Chicago would soon learn, wouldn't last long. While the confrontation video went viral, King Von's family members reportedly gathered at a relative's home on the south side to talk about what had happened. The room was full of emotions: frustration, sadness, pride, and an overwhelming sense of protectiveness. Some family members believed Von's mom had done the right thing by confronting Lil Tim directly. Others worried the drama would only reopen old wounds that were barely beginning to heal. Voices rose, opinions clashed, and the family was left divided all over again. At the same time, Lil Tim's circle met in a small rented Airbnb across town. Tensions there were just as intense. Some believed he had been unfairly ambushed. Others told him to stay silent and avoid escalating things further. But in the midst of this heated debate, someone in the room reportedly revealed information that changed everything. A voice note, allegedly from someone close to Von's camp, warning that the confrontation was only the beginning, and that the family wasn't done talking yet. Lil Tim reportedly froze when he heard the voice note. "How many more surprises are coming?" he asked, exhaustion seeping through his voice. His friends exchanged uneasy glances. The situation was no longer just emotional. It was beginning to feel dangerous, unpredictable, like anything could happen. Meanwhile, the internet was split. Fans were arguing non-stop. "Lil Tim deserves it," some wrote. "You don't mess with a legacy like Von's." Others pushed back. "This is going too far. They need to talk privately. This ain't for the world to watch." Debates escalated. Lives were going viral every hour, and reaction channels on YouTube were pumping out videos faster than anyone could keep up. Emotions ran high as people chose sides, often without knowing the full story. But the real twist came later that afternoon. Out of nowhere, a mysterious clip leaked online, audio of the confrontation inside the studio. It was raw, unedited, and emotional. The internet exploded instantly. Millions listened to Vaughn's mom saying, "You know what you did," her voice trembling with fire and grief. Lil Tim's voice came through shaky, defensive, conflicted. The background noise, shouting, footsteps, phones buzzing, made it feel like the listener was standing right there in the room. The clip reignited everything. Suddenly, the drama was hotter than ever. Footage from outside the studio also leaked. Fans screaming, people arguing, chaos spilling onto the streets. Comment sections were filled with shock, sending the clip to the top of every trending chart. Vaughn's supporters said the audio proved Lil Tim crossed a major line. Tim's supporters claimed the audio was edited. The online war was unstoppable. Inside the Airbnb, Lil Tim was livid. "Who's leaking this stuff?" he demanded. Fingers pointed in every direction. Accusations flew like sparks. One friend insisted it had to be someone on Vaughn's side. Another swore it came from someone inside their own circle. Stress boiled until two of Lil Tim's closest friends reportedly started yelling, almost coming to blows. The pressure of the moment was tearing them apart. Meanwhile, King Von's mom received hundreds of calls, some from supporters, some begging her to stay calm, and others warning her that things were getting out of hand. Through it all, she stayed quiet, but sources say she was deeply emotional. "She's carrying years of pain," one family member said. "This wasn't about clout. This was personal." But the biggest shock of all came the next evening. A respected Chicago OG, someone both sides looked up to, decided enough was enough. He called an emergency meeting at a community center on the west side, inviting both camps. At first, no one believed they would show up. But slowly, one by one, cars began pulling into the parking lot. Vaughn's family arrived quietly, keeping to themselves. Lil Tim and his crew pulled up minutes later, tense but willing to talk. Cameras had been banned, phones confiscated. This time, it was truly private. No leaks, no clips, no viral moments. Witnesses said the atmosphere inside the community center was unforgettable. Pain, fear, anger, love, respect, all mixing together in a way that felt almost surreal. King Von's mom reportedly spoke first, her voice cracking as she described the years of grief and healing. Those who heard her say it was one of the most emotional speeches they'd ever experienced. Even some of Lil Tim's crew were moved to tears. When Lil Tim spoke, he surprised everyone. He didn't argue. He didn't defend. Instead, he expressed remorse for any pain he may have unintentionally caused. "I never wanted beef," he said quietly. "I just wanted to do my music. I didn't know the things I said would hit that deep." There was silence after that, deep, heavy silence. What followed, witnesses said, wasn't forgiveness, but it was understanding. A recognition of humanity on both sides. The drama wasn't magically erased, the pain didn't disappear, and the tension didn't evaporate, but something shifted. By the time both parties left the community center, people said the storm felt different. Not calmer, not resolved, but contained. Like both sides had finally looked each other in the eye and seen more than just conflict. They saw history, heartbreak, and the weight of everything that had led them there. Chicago wasn't done talking. The fans weren't done arguing. The internet wasn't done analyzing. But something had changed between the two people at the center of the storm, and that, insiders say, may be the only reason the situation didn't explode even further. And so, after days of chaos, confrontation, heartbreak, and viral frenzy, the saga finally reached a fragile pause. Not a resolution, not even close, but a pause that left Chicago buzzing with questions. What did Lil Tim really mean? Why did King Von's mom choose that moment to confront him? Who leaked the audio? Who leaked the footage? And what happens next? Fans are still shocked, the family remains divided, and the entire rap community is watching with wide eyes. Some believe this moment might change the direction of Chicago's rap scene forever. Others think the drama is far from over, and that more revelations could drop at any moment. Emotions ran high throughout this story, and you could feel the tension from the streets to social media. But now, it's your turn to weigh in. If you were standing in that studio, if you heard those words drop, if you saw the way the city reacted, whose side would you take, and why? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Tell us what you think Lil Tim should do next. Tell us if you believe King Von's mom was right to confront him face to face. And tell us what you think the next chapter of this story is going to be. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next explosive update. Because trust me, this saga is far from finished. Chicago is heating up, and you definitely don't want to miss what comes next.